Jordan Peterson released a video titled "A Message to Twitter CEO Parag Agrawal." And he talks about his recent suspension from Twitter and his issues with the platform. Now, I don't know what he's currently suspended for. I feel like Jordan Peterson gets suspended from Twitter on a regular basis now. Do you guys have any idea what this latest suspension is about? I know previously it was for dead naming Elliot Page, which is against Twitter's rules to do that on their platform. What's this latest suspension about?
That's still this. So basically, he's still mad. And just to remind folks what his tweet was, it was tweeting out a link to some Elliot Page article. It says, "Remember when pride was a sin?" And he says Ellen Page here just had her. It says her breast removed. I'm just going to quote what he actually said because why he's banned. Removed by a criminal physician, which is the kicker there. And on top of the dead naming, but also demonizing these doctors. And so he was banned for that. And he's still very mad about that. Remember, he did say he would rather die than delete that tweet, but he has in fact deleted the tweet, and apparently he got rebanned again because of some other stuff. Probably because his entire public career and notoriety owes to the fact of him lying about trans people and legislation around them. So it probably was a target-rich environment. But yeah, we can play just maybe the open of this to see how mad he still is.
Yeah, let's see how mad he is. Oh, go ahead, Brandon.
I was just going to say, it should be noted that he took the coward's way out by deleting the tweet that he said he would rather die than delete. But then he took a screenshot of it and reshared it. And so people were reporting him for trying to skirt the rules, in which he, skirt the rules. And so he might just literally still be banned for that exact same reason.
I didn't know that part because he does talk about I had to delete a whole bunch of tweets because of other reasons that have nothing to do with this. I really wouldn't have gone back on my word on that. But yeah, that's very funny that he just okay, I'm going to put this back up. I don't know what, and he acts so confused and as if it's such a big mystery of why he's banned for that tweet, and it's actually obvious. And the reason he doesn't get back into it in the entire 27 minutes of this clip, which we're not going to watch, he doesn't get back into the specifics because he knows that if he got into the specifics, he'd have something to they have a reason to ban him. But
wait, this is a 26-minute video about him getting banned from Twitter?
Yes, basically.
Oh my god,
it's a message to Twitter CEO Parag Agrawal.
Jeez, all right, I was expecting maybe a 5-minute long Twitter clip. Let's listen to as much as we can handle.
We'll skip ahead a little bit, but let's watch the very beginning and just start at the beginning. Yeah.
Message to Parag Agrawal, CEO of Twitter.
I'm already laughing. You don't need to start with that. This is already ridiculous.
And also the setting, the lamp, the open San Pellegrino bottle, a stand for magnifying glasses.
Oh, is that what that is? I was trying to.
There's a bottle opener and a magnifying glass and maybe something else. It's
who amongst us doesn't have the classic magnifying glass stand for our multiple magnifying glasses just sitting in our living rooms?
I mean, it's obviously very deliberate staging to make himself seem more intellectual than, I would argue he is, but the magnifying glass, I think, goes a step too far.
He's a charlatan, yeah.
That's what all public intellectuals do nowadays, just carry around magnifying glasses with them. But let's listen again. And when I said I can't believe you opened with that, I want to make it clear. I'm glad you guys opened with that. I can't believe he actually opened this video with message to Twitter CEO Parag Agrawal.
No definite article.
It just seems kind of like a supervillain thing to do. It's very message to Batman and the people of Gotham.
Yeah. Right.
It's not it's very Riddler-esque. It's not something that you normally, I don't think, not something I do when I open.
Right.
Message to Parag Agrawal, CEO of Twitter. Dear Mr. Agrawal.
Oh my God.
I wrote this when it was literally 2 a.m. during my recent visit to beautiful Samos, Greece, where I was on business attending to my efforts on the educational front.
I'm getting Stan vibes
out there a little bit.
Yeah, like Eminem Stan vibes. I wrote you, but you still ain't calling.
Yeah, like this is the thing where it's like there's too much preface here. Like if Jordan Peterson was calling into the majority report, it's like, yeah, can you get to the point of your call, please? Like I don't care about all this extra stuff. But anyway, let's go back to Jordan.
Where I was on business attending to my efforts on the educational front. I woke up suddenly from my slumbers with you and your company on my mind in my jet-lagged state, unable to drowse further, and so I sat there writing instead of sleeping, which the more cautious and sensible part of me wished devoutly I was able to do instead. A few weeks ago, the wise folks at Twitter deemed it necessary to suspend my access to that platform, despite the fact that I had several million followers, despite the fact that I had used the platform in good faith.
Pause that too. Okay, two quick things there. Despite the fact that I had many million followers, so you saying justice was served despite you being extremely popular and driving attention to the platform? That would seem to be a plus for Google's or Twitter side. And also, good faith? No, you don't. You're a fucking liar, bro. You lie about the actual tweet you're banned over. You won't characterize it accurately. Like, you're not using it in good faith. Good faith people use it as like some sort of talisman. Like, this is good faith. We've banned all the bad spirits from here. Like, we're putting like a salt circle around us. Like, I don't know. It's childish.
Yeah, but Matt, have you considered that first point that he has a lot of followers?
I don't think I quite understand what like people on the right who make these arguments think Twitter and Facebook is. Like, it's almost like they think that their unpaid account on Twitter like makes them like a customer who has some kind of like, you know, rights of like business to complain about. It's like, it's not really that. Like, you're basically on Twitter at their largesse, and for as long as it's useful to use you to harvest data and maybe skim off the top of whatever project you're running off there, if you're doing like Twitter Blue. It's like, once you open Twitter up to some kind of legal or like moral dilemma where it's like, oh, we're going to look bad because we allow this person to harass a famous trans man, you know, you've essentially ripped up your right to be on that platform in their mind, because they don't want to open themselves up to that. You know, the fact that you run your business on there does not mean anything to them.
Right. Exactly. And if it will mean something to them if you do become an actual customer via paying them via advertising. Like, a lot of these platforms run in a way where, you know, if you're just a regular user, you're on your own because we're letting you use the platform. But if you're a paying advertiser using their ad platform, then all of a sudden you get like the red carpet treatment. You have access to a 24/7 support staff where you can get into a live chat at any time. Like, maybe Jordan Peterson's got to pay up if he wants that access to that sort of support level.
I mean, it's not a defense of Twitter or Facebook or any of the other sites, but that's just what they are. They're not like free speech platforms for you to like, you know, hawk your wares on. They're like data analytics and like marketing collection data like platforms. You know, you can scream that they aren't that all you want, but like their priorities are entirely that, like collecting data, segmenting it into customer segmentations, and like selling the data off to various advertisers or political parties or et cetera. Like, you know, they want you to feel like you can share that data on there so they can better categorize you, but they're not like beholden to any sort of like partnership with you or like to ensure you have a right to free communication. Like, that's just not what they do. Like, you know, and you shouldn't confuse what they do for that, certainly, because they'll turn your data over to like the police.
Right. Yeah. We'll just play a little bit more.
Followers, despite the fact that I had used the platform in good faith, despite the fact that I had put in the years of time and effort necessary to gain such an extensive following.
Broke the rules.
The fact, as well, that I was a genuine force on Twitter, trending with a rather appalling and frightening degree of regularity. In many ways,
they don't care about that.
I'm your monster, sir.
Who are you? God damn, we need to change.
Speaking of having to subscribe to a platform in order to get the good treatment, it's like, yeah, I mean, like, I don't know what to say other than like, I know you run your business. I know he runs his business on that website, but that doesn't make him a business partner of them. It just makes him another like product that they sell.
I'm your monster. Like, no, you were their gerbil, and like you got too stinky, so they kicked you out. Like, you're not Frankenstein's monster here, Jordan. You had a few million followers. That's like there's like Korean pop stars that dwarf you.
Yeah, you were like a variable in their database to decide like how to best market to people who like this kind of stuff. That's right. What you were.
Right. And speaking of paying up, sounds like Majority Report's going to have to get that YouTube Premium subscription, right?
I think we might have a YouTube TV. Do, yeah. I just need to figure out. Sam and I need to just figure out the login.
Oh, YouTube TV doesn't do.
Let's not get bogged down in this. We have this sorted out. It's
Okay.
We have the solution.
Your monster, sir. The reason for the suspension, it's not exactly clear, because very little is exactly clear, Mr. Agrawal, with regard to your social media network, apart from the fact that you allow an awful lot of misbehavior. What with the appalling proliferation of anonymous and near demonic trolls and bots and professional manipulation of the public space by actors such as the Russian and Chinese governments, and the proclivity of your own people to censor only those voices they don't agree with politically. The tweet that brought about my suspension was one directed, for better or worse, at the actress/actor Ellen, now Elliot Page, who I criticized, along with his or her physician, for publicly trumpeting and publicizing the decision to have her perfectly functional breasts removed in the attempt.
This is super creepy. Definitely going to like.
Whoa. Yeah, that was a weird phrasing. I mean, first of all, how does he know anything about her body? And what does fully functional mean to him? I mean, the point of breasts is to produce milk for offspring. I mean, does he know that was the case for her? I mean, what is he talking about?
He's a weird guy.
This is the obsession that he has. And I think that, honestly, for the sake of his own, legal well-being, it's probably best that he not have access to large platforms. But, I think a lot of right-wing content creators are, they were emboldened under Trump to believe that they could do whatever they want. And they've started brushing up on what I think Alex Jones finally hit, which is that eventually someone's going to sue you for this. Eventually somebody, whether it's a children's hospital or the board of directors at a children's hospital, whatever conglomerate owns that children's hospital, or, Elliot Page or the doctor that you're, talking about right here is going to file a personal lawsuit against you. And to be honest, whether it's a seize or not, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube don't want to be named as enabling that. They don't want any sort of legal repercussions of that. And, the idea that you think that that's going to be, Trump, their personal petty desire to not be named in a lawsuit by Elliot Page is going to be trumped by them wanting you to feel welcome to promote your terrible product on their website is just, it's very delusional. And I think we've seen that, I think more than any other content creator, maybe, Jordan Peterson is buying what he's selling. It's very hard to imagine him as a psychologist now at this point, except for in the sense that a lot of Batman's old villains, as I mentioned before, are former psychologists.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, how long did we make it through that Jordan Peterson message to Twitter CEO before we were disgusted by what he was saying? I didn't feel like it was very long.
Yeah, just a couple of minutes, and we'll skip a little bit ahead here. I mean, all we're gonna miss from this is he does this faux confusion about I don't know what they won't explain what I did wrong. I just want, and also I deleted the tweets and he blah blah blah. And then he, for some reason, spends 10 minutes on the case of Donald Trump getting deleted from Twitter, admitting, kind of interestingly, but not interestingly enough for us to watch, that he doesn't think Trump is technically true about the election being stolen from him, and that, he's been dangerous about that. But he hems and haws about it and says, well, maybe he, if he would have treated the right a little bit better, he wouldn't be forced to such a position. But what I find interesting, and this is what we'll skip to, is how he's complaining that he got thrown off Twitter for basically being an asshole. And then he says Twitter, you're letting all these trolls and people ruin your platform with misbehavior. And it's they're addressing that in part with you. But let's just play a little bit more of Jordan Peterson here, because this is where he's really crying.
Back to my situation.
He's talking about Trump.
From the domain of more general
like 30
concerns about
minutes.
censorship and carelessness, I have, frankly, found it a relief to be banished from the Twitter world.
You can tell.
The anonymous trolls, psychopaths, narcissists, and Machiavellians allowed
He's talking about us.
by your own inconsistent and psychologically inappropriate rules make operating there on any scale frustrating and anger-provoking beyond tolerance. The fact that you so casually enable that tiny minority of cowardly anonymous people who have nothing better to do than cause trouble by generating and promulgating the kind of derisive, contemptuous, LOL, LMFAO, bro, brah, dude comments that would get anyone who dared utter even one of them in person to their targets immediately punched in that mocking, cowardly, self-aggrandizing face means that your platform represents a signal threat to the integrity of the discourse upon which the stability of your country and the mental health of its youth depend. As you have been directly warned by psychologists of great repute,
Not me.
such as Dr. Jonathan Haidt, as moderate and wise a learned person as you could hope to have for counsel. In consequence, I see very little evidence that you have the ability or the vision or the concern necessary to set the pathological den of serpents that you so apparently carelessly enable and govern straight. And that is a very dire problem.
Okay, maybe we can end it there. Maybe we could continue, but it's
Matt, I'm gonna have to put in a request for that LOL LMFAO bro bruh to be a drop for us.
Right, that's good. That's a good one, Matt. Definitely, you should do that. What I found interesting was we jumped like 20 minutes ahead, and he's still bringing up anonymous trolls.
yes.
And I mean, real free speech advocates understand how important it is, again, for the purpose of free speech, for people to be able to speak out anonymously. And online, that means creating an anonymous account and being able to share your thoughts and opinions without revealing your identity. Interesting that a free speech advocate, quote unquote, such as Jordan Peterson himself, seems to have such a problem with people being anonymous on the internet.
Oh yeah, no, he's mad for the same reason pundits have been mad about Twitter since the beginning, that it's not stratified quite in the way that they'd like. And to be honest, Twitter has gone through, I think, unnecessary changes to make it easier to ignore people who want to yell at you about your terrible writing or your terrible product that you're pushing on Twitter, but not quite easy enough for you to ignore it. Like you can stop people from responding to you, but you can't stop people from quote tweeting you. And that's, why they choose to do that is anyone's guess. I know, probably just to stir up trouble, but I can't, say to know that for sure. But in terms of this, yeah, he's mad that people are allowed to use Twitter as in more or less intended, which is to like be a micro blog to communicate with people, and that people like him who are specifically there to hawk products, his podcast, his books, whatever, are not given special dispensation by Twitter to have even more free speech to say things that they need to do to, gin up support for their products. And we see this all the time. Like people just think that when you want to promote your podcast or when you want to promote your your Substack or whatever, that you deserve extra free speech. I always use the example, like you're not allowed to say fire in public unless fire is the name of your new Netflix special. Then you can run around screaming it anywhere and people will defend your right to promote it. And so I think that, people think that Twitter users who use the site for like corporate reasons, for business reasons, like pundits deserve extra protection from the unwashed masses of anonymous users. But you can be anonymous. That's just, it's fine.
Right, and this was always the test to give somebody who is supporting Elon Musk buying. Oh, he has a groveling little segment about Elon Musk earlier too. But the idea that Elon Musk was going to come do free speech on Twitter, you can tell I can guarantee you he's never going to do that. He's never going to, because if he buys Twitter and he needs to turn it into a moneymaker, what he won't do is make it unusable for corporate brands, which is a huge impingement infringement on free speech. You think brands are going to start and celebrities are going to come back to Twitter if they can't like hide and maybe even like limit replies on their stuff because they'll get trolls? Like people like J.K. Rowling, like all these folks, right? Like this hidden replies. That's so it's they can say it's for like we hate and we hate this or that. It's because it gets in the way of the money, and their corporate partners don't want that stuff to be involved in their commercials.
Right. Yeah, but I would say like that's absolutely true. But some people want to be a corporate partner while still trying to still try to leverage all of the benefits as an individual would in terms of like what rights that affords them by like our government. Like, Jordan Peterson wants to be both a corporation and a person and switch between, back and forth. I'm a customer of Twitter, but I'm also just like a user like you. And so I can hold everyone accountable and can't be held accountable for any of my actions because I just pivot back and forth between those two.
I still can't believe the guy made a 30-minute video speaking I get why it's 30 minutes long. It's not that there was so much to talk about. It's that he spoke in such a slow, meandering style of speech.
LMAO.
Yeah, brah. Getting a lot of love for those. The idea of making those drops, by the way, in the IMs. That a new wave libertarian communist. That LOL LMFAO needs to be a new majority report soundbite. Joe from Texas, please clip that LOL LMFAO bro bra thing from the Jordan Peterson video. Wayne Kerr, drop gold mine. LMFAO.
Really is. There's more than that.
Yeah. Chris Durdick says, assuming that Jordan Peterson has a perfectly functional penis, and I have my doubts, I can't imagine rage tweeting about it if he paid a doctor to lop it off. Between the 101 and the 5 says, he almost literally looks like the Riddler, a green shirt, magnifying glass, dude's out of his mind.
He's country western Riddler.
Right. Golden Oyster Cult. As a transgender person, Jordan Peterson offends me, and the harm he causes is sickening. As an empathetic person, he worries me. He's not okay, and I don't mean this to belittle him. He needs help. Yes.
100% he does. You're absolutely right. I'd recommend the big, long, some more news. Look at Jordan Peterson, but this is a damaged individual who's basically being floated into his position in society because he's useful to a reactionary political agenda.
Right. It's a shame how. I would say it's a shame how people are taking advantage of him because he's popular with a certain sect of the right due to his earlier tirades. And they just have no interest in making sure that he's an okay individual. They just want to keep propping him up. I will say, though, in terms of people on the right, it can be hard to discern who's in need of help and who actually is just pretending because that's their whole thing.
Right. Professional Dumpster Fire says, is Jordan Peterson turning red so he can attain the truest hierarchy only found within lobsters? Oh, I forgot about the whole lobster thing.
He is lobsterfied in this. Look at that.
Right.
He's like, I was in Greece pursuing things in regards to my education stuff. It's like, yeah, on the beach, bro.
Right.
He's choking back years.
And it's not the first time either. Dan from Columbus, which keeps Jordan Peterson up later at night? Getting banned from Twitter till he deleted a tweet, or drinking a glass of apple cider? Yes, the apple cider thing will always be amazing to me.
Nearly killed him.